It's almost like you have the best garden in the world with the best pond with the best fish and the greatest chicken coop, but you might actually just be okay or solid. You have all the talent. You're destined to be one of the great chefs of all time, but you need to go through the reps.
Gary, when you were building VaynerMedia, what was the transition like from year 1 to 2? Was it black and white? Was it just a gradual fade
It's a
up?
great question. So it's a great question given the context of this show and where we're at. It's funny. The first 18 months I was very passive with VaynerMedia by comparison because I was still really running Wine Library. And I wanted to give AJ room to do his thing. Like, he had all that pent up, energy from being in school for 7 years, probably longer than he wanted to be. And I wanted to see what he was about. I wanted him to learn. I also wrote Crush It. And it went completely viral and, had my first child. So it was a very, like that first 18 months, I was pretty passive. Then I got involved and then it really lifted off. So I think ironically year 3 and 4 is more of the comp here. And, I think it's why we just had such good free agency. What happened there, what's happening here. It's like, you come in with all the right ingredients. We've been talking about ingredients, mindset, the relationships, the intent, the talent that we have at ownership. And then more importantly, thank God for you too, like senior leadership, right? Then you start learning. Learning is everything. So it's almost like you have the best garden in the world with the best pond with the best fish and the greatest chicken coop, but you might actually just be okay or solid. You have all the talent. You're destined to be one of the great chefs of all time, but you need to go through the reps. So for me, that's what year 2 is. Like when we were going through free agency, and obviously you two were more active than I was, but when, like communication, looking at thoughts, like I can feel my chemicals right now. So I remember the feeling. I was like, wow, we are really on our way. Like I am one of the less deep in, I know all of these guys, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay, we're in this, and we were successful in getting, to give credit to you, Ashley, and I felt like we went after a lot of great people in year 1, 2, got some, didn't get everyone, So being able to execute, this is where ingredients matter, by what we did during COVID, who we actually are as human beings, nice, honored, all that, reputation, winning some of the free agency sweepstakes because of it. Let's call a spade a spade. That's the transition. More.
Yeah.
Which makes you better.
I think that's most definitely true, and I got to give credit to where all credit's due. Like obviously, Brett and I were a huge part of building that first initial roster. Going into year 2, we wanted to leave it almost entirely up to the coaching staff in Brian Saint and Jake, who's the assistant coach and lead analyst. They put in so much work during this offseason to make this happen. But I think the biggest thing that I noticed when I did come into because I did eventually come into some conversations and start trying to be like, hey, like content, like let's help you grow. Coming into that, like last year, for example, we were on the phone with Priesta, Brett and I, and we're like, he was our number one, like we want this guy. And he ended up going to FaZe, which I can totally understand. They're very built out. They have their great infrastructure, great team. And we were saying a bunch of things that we wanted to do, but how can they believe it? We just got here, right? And so, but after year 1, they saw, launch event weekend was a sick event. Like the Armory looked amazing. The players were all treated well, even if they weren't on our team. Shout out to that. And just like making sure that reputation starts to get built. And it's because we have the ingredients here in the senior staff, all the way like down to any interns we hire. Like we literally are all on the same page of this. And it is the ingredient factor. It's the solid support from ownership and the direction that they give versus how we execute it.